Hi everybody, Elin here. Now when April is over, I'm going to do my April wrap up. But I did still read 15 books and I'm happy about that because it still is a lot of books read, and yeah, I just think that we should start going through the books I read, and I'll tell you a little bit shortly what I thought about them. I will not say that much about what they're about because then this video will be 5 hours long. And the first book I read this month was By Your Side by Casey West, which is a contemporary. And this is about a girl named Autumn who accidentally gets locked in a library, and she realizes after a while that she is not alone in that. There's also a guy from her school who is locked in there with her, and they are stuck there for a couple of days. I really like this book. I'm very weak for Casey West's contemporary books, let me just say that. And I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars because I thought it was really cute and really got like swept away into this book, and I just didn't want to put it down, so I did read it in one day. The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. This is about a girl named Star who witnessed her childhood best friend getting shot by a cop, totally unprovoked. He's not armed or anything, but he gets shot and dies. This book sort of covers like the aftermath of that, how the cops react, how the neighborhood reacts, and everybody gets involved in this. And it was really interesting to read about. It definitely made me cry because sometimes it was really horrible, and yeah, to bring up, and it is a product, or what you want to call it, because from the Black Lives Matter movement. And yeah, I think this book had really good messages, and I really loved it, and I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. Du sköna nya värld by Aldous Huxley, and in English this is called Brave New World, and this is a classic, it's sort of a futuristic kind of thing, and this was first written in 1932, and it's just sort of like the technique for like gene production and stuff made the human perfect, and there are no old, sick or unhappy people, and life is supposed to be really easy and uncomplicated, and the human being have been like liberated from all emotional bindings to other people. And it was really interesting, and I've never read anything like it before. And I mean, it wasn't like totally off all of it from what the world looks like today. There was some things that was pretty much like close to being correct, I guess. And I thought it was really interesting, and I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. And then I read Ett mord annonseras, or A Murder is Announced by Agatha Christie, and this of course is about a murder because, well, hello, read the title. But I mean, in this book you get to follow Miss Marple, and there's like in the paper there's a short text about there are going to be a murder on Little Paddocks Friday the 29th of October at 6:30 AM, and people get home to this lady that owns the house, and somebody ends up being dead. And I really like this one. I mean, it's always fun to try to connect the dots and find out who the murderer was. And yeah, I really liked it, so I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. And then I read 13 vid bordet by Agatha Christie, or Lord Edgware Dies as it's called in English. And in this book you follow Poirot, and well, they're trying to find out who killed Lord Edgware, and there's a lot of suspects, and just trying to connect the dots, and I really thought I had everything figured out, because I thought, yeah, well, this makes sense, that is who the murderer should be, and I was completely wrong, as always. And it's always really fun to read Agatha Christie's books, because you never know what's gonna happen, and it's always really fun in the end when you like get to follow Poirot or Miss Marple's like thought process and find out like how they figured it out. And I would suck at it as a detective. I just gonna put it out there. Anyways, I really like this book, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars as well. And then I read Ske din vilja by Anne Gracie. In the series The Tudors, and the original title in English, it is called The King, the Queen and the Mistress. And this is, as you may notice, because since the series is called The Tudors, it's about Henry VIII, you know, the king that really liked to kill off all his wives. And in this you get to like follow when he meets Anne Boleyn and also Mary Boleyn, and a little bit how he rules the country and try to make alliances with a lot of different countries, which he breaks within like 5 minutes. And yeah, this is based off the TV show The Tudors, and I just thought that this book sometimes were, well, it felt like it was more written towards an audience that actually saw the TV show, as in like 1 or 2 episodes or something, but it just felt like they had put in extra details that would have made good on like a TV screen, but it was just like too much in this format. And well, I like the story, but that's because I'm fascinated by this time, because I really like history. But yeah, so I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. And I also read A Little Princess by Frances Hodgson Burnett, and this is a children's classic, and this edition is Puffin and Bloom if someone wonders. Someone always does. Anyways, I really like this book, and in this book you get to meet a girl named Sarah, and her dad is sort of a businessman, and he has to go off to India and like try to make money, and Sarah is dropped off at this like boarding school, and at first she's treated really well because, well, her dad is rich, but then shit goes down from there. And I really like this book, and Sarah was a fantastic character. You couldn't help but love her, and I mean, you really didn't know where the book was going to go because there was all these twists and turns. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And then I also read Heidi by Johanna Spyri, the same edition, Puffin and Bloom, and I really like this book as well. You get to meet Heidi, who by 5 years old is sort of almost like forced upon her grandpa, because before then she had been living with her aunt, but at this point she has to live with her grandpa because her aunt wants to take a job where she cannot have a 5-year-old with her, and she gets to live with her grandpa. And her grandpa is not really, nobody really likes him. He's sort of keeps him to himself. He lives up on this mountain with his goats, and nobody really like talks to him. He pretty much takes care of himself, doesn't really talk to anybody. But Heidi and her grandpa, they really start to like each other, and they have so much fun. And yeah, things go a little awry when she is sent away from him. So yeah, I really like this story. It was really beautiful, it was really captivating, and I really love the sort of connection that Heidi and her grandpa had. So I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. And then I read Kuriren by Henrik Blankert, and this is one of my review books, and unfortunately this only exists in Swedish as it is right now, but it's sort of it's an international thriller, and it's based off of real events, and this is about Jacob Nilsson, and he has lived and worked on some of the world's most dangerous places, but he realizes that he can't go on like that because he does have a family, so he moves back home, and you know, the normal Svensson life, as you call it in Sweden. And yeah, and he has this like office job and it's really safe and according to him very boring. Shit happened and Jacob is trying to find out what happened to his son. I really did like this book. It was sort of hard to connect all the dots, I thought at least, and there was constantly happening things, and I gave this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. And then I read Between Shades of Grey by Rita Sepetys. Lina, her mother and her younger brother are hauled by, out of their home by Soviet guards and sent to Siberia. And this takes place during 1941, so it's Second World War. And you get to follow their travel from their home to Siberia and everything that happens in between there. And this book is actually based off of first-hand family accounts and memories from survivors, and it was really like heartbreaking at times, and I was so like stuck in this book. I read this book in one day because I just needed to find out what the hell was going to happen. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. The Upside of Unattached by Becky Albertalli, and this was one of my most anticipated releases for this year. But in this book you meet 16-year-old Molly and her twin sister Cassie, and Cassie falls in love with a girl, and this is like the first serious relationship she's ever had. She's had a lot of like flings, or want to call it, with other girls, but this is the first time she really falls for a girl, and she falls hard. And Cassie's new girlfriend comes with a cute little sidekick called Will, and they try to like match him up with Molly, who is a little bit overweight, so she's really insecure with herself, and she's had a shitload of crushes. I think it was like 26 or something when they started, or something, 27 maybe. And they're trying to hook her up with this guy Will, because that would be perfect if the twins have like one guy, one person each in this little friend group. And there's a problem though, because Molly starts her new job at this little store, and there she meets Reed, and he's this perfect little dorky guy, and she's definitely on the same wavelength as Molly. And I really like this book because Molly and Cassie's parents, they're both female, so they have 2 moms. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. And then we have Your Welcome Universe by Whitney Gardner, and this also follows a girl with 2 moms. And the girl herself, Julia, she is Indian, and there's so much diversity in the book because, well, she's Indian, there is lesbians, and the main character is deaf, and it's just a lot of, diversity. And I really like this book, and it's about Julia. She gets kicked out of school when she tries to cover up a graffiti that someone made about her friend. And she gets kicked out of school for that, so she has to go to a new school. I really like this book because there was like pictures all through it, and on some places there were like drawn pictures of sign language, so you get to learn a couple of words, and that was really fun because I love learning sign language. I think it's really fascinating, and I don't know how the hell people learn that fluently because it's really hard sometimes. And I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Strange to Dreama by Laini Taylor. But in this book you meet Laszlo Strange, and he's sort of a junior librarian, so he works at this really big library. But he has been, for the last 7 years, he has been writing books about a city called Weep. Which is not the city's original name, because the name of the city was like magically removed from everybody's mind, so Weep is the only word that people can remember about it. And one day, Laszlo has always wanted to go to that city. The problem is that anyone who tries to find this place, they don't get back, they get killed. And Laszlo, his lifelong dream has been to find this place, and one day the opportunity to actually go to this place comes up. Shit happens after that, and this has a really cool magic system, and there's some really cool characters, and it was really hard to predict where it was going, and I really liked this story, so I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I also read Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban by J.K. Rowling, and yes, I've read this book 20 plus times because I can't even count how many times it is anymore. And this has always been my favorite Harry Potter book, and I still really love it. And I think everybody knows what it's about, so I'm not gonna waste time talking about it too much. But of course I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. And then I also read a book by Nora Roberts, and it's called Jewels of the Sun. And this is the first book in the Ireland trilogy or something it's called. And in this book you get to meet Jude, whose marriage falls apart completely, and she has gotten a divorce, and she realizes that she's not really happy at her job as a psychology teacher, so she packs up her bags and leaves for Ireland, where her grandmother comes from, and she gets to live in this little cabin where her grandma's cousin's house or something like that, who died a while ago. And well, when she's in Ireland she meets the Gallagher family, and she befriends the sister, and she also gets these really confusing and mixed feelings for the oldest brother. And yeah, Jude goes to Ireland, and she has the intention of writing an essay about the folklores that they have there. But this one was really cute and sort of fluffy at points, and it was really interesting to read about all these folklores. And yeah, there were some moments I did not really like, but gave this book 3.5 stars out of 5. And that was actually all of the books I read this month, so 15. If you like this video and you're interested in what I do, I really do hope that you want to subscribe to my channel so that you can get a notification for when I upload new material, but also to show my support. I do hope that we'll see each other next time. Bye!